Previously, we watched as our aging caterpillar anchored himself, shed his skin, and formed a protective shell. Repurposed from within the chrysalis and emerging as an eye-catching butterfly, feeding from nature's nectar. It's not until he gets comfy in our homes, fluttering his little wings in our faces, that our patience is tested. We notice that his colours faded, quite a plain creature, more like a moth, a pest, overstaying its welcome. And no matter how many hints you drop, nothing gets rid of him. Now that Barker's tightly on the leash, he keeps her highly visible when in the UK, accompanying him to public events and paparazzi hotspots. He's a busy man, but she takes what she can get, which isn't much, limited to a few cuddles and a peck on the cheek when there's a camera around. He releases The Only Way Out, 10. Where Do We Go From Here, 60. And the Christmas single, Little Town, 11. He enters 83, brimming with beans, in bed with God, the Queen and Prime Minister, who he calls his heroine. She Means Nothing to Me, with Phil Everly of the Everly Brothers, 9. True Love Ways, with the London Philharmonic Orchestra, 8. Drifting with Christian newcomer Sheila Walsh, 64. And Never Say Die, 15. He's touring the world, and the UK leg of his Silver Jubilee arena tour is followed up with a 6-week residency at the Apollo in London, consisting of 33 sold-out shows. When he's done, he heads over to Pebble Mill.
The press and people that do my kind of job love to compartmentalise you as being a specific type of music, and the guy who's the religious nut, sometimes, really.
A religious nut, not just a follower of faith, but the kind of self-serving obsessive that alienates ordinary people from the cause. Even here, in 83, where being an atheist carries social stigma, and the vast majority are open to the concept of ideology, the whiff of cliff still evokes both ivory towers and glass houses.
What sort of stick did you take in the 60s when you did say that, look, religion is the path I'm going to follow?
I don't mind being, that's the only compartment I don't mind being in. I am religious, I am a Christian, and there's nothing I can change about that. There is one way of reaching God as far as I'm concerned, that's through Jesus. So that is a compartment I'm happy to be in.
The benefits that come with being a religious figurehead suit him like a woolen tank top. Moral credibility, privilege and immunity, and as a loyal foot soldier of the establishment, untouchable.
But when you break away from spirituality and start talking about music, I thumb my nose at them now. You know, I say, I defy you to put me in a box.
Uncomfortable at being labelled, under the impression that he's an evolving visionary, he's lost touch with reality, positioning himself alongside artists. A top salesman of corporate sound, but material wealth can't settle creative bankruptcy.
Because songs on my new album, like Love Stealer, somebody at EMI told me that Iron Maiden would quite like to have got it. Now, they're a heavy rock band.
Harry and the Maiden guys were apparently devastated when Cliff recorded Love Stealer, a song released by Uriah Heep 3 years earlier. Maybe they were hoping to squeeze it onto their Peace of Mind album, or maybe he just completely ruined it for them.
When I did a song called Thief in the Night from last year's album, I got played on a heavy rock radio program.
King of the Orgies, Tommy Vance, gave Thief in the Night a spin on his Friday night rock show, alongside Zeppelin and Rainbow. Named as a key player in the Sex for Airplay scandal of the early 70s, alongside Savile. He's been connected to Cliff since the 60s, and actually spent an hour with him just a couple of days before playing it.
BBC. And I thought, great, someone had the honesty at least to say, oh, well, this is a heavy rock. They didn't say, oh, it's Cliff Richard, we won't listen to it. They played it.
Impressed by its strong production and Dior vibes, he put his neck on the line for his old pal, telling listeners that he wouldn't reveal who it was till it was finished.
And I often think, actually, that For instance, youngsters are really guilty of not giving people like myself a chance, because I know that there are a lot of young kids who wouldn't dream of playing a Cliff Richard record. And I just want to say to them, it's your loss, folks.
He's not happy with his quarter century of shine, a multi-millionaire heritage act, now begrudging the new generation of up-and-comers of their moment, belittling teenagers and kids for not wanting posters of him next to their newest pin-ups.
On my album, I've got some real good electronic stuff, because rock and roll does not belong to the young anymore. We can still do it, and I'm certainly not going to give it up. I don't mind stepping aside and let people join us, but I'm not going to get down.
His pop psychosis kicks in, manic bursts of entitlement, trigger delusions of ownership, only tied to rock and roll through impersonation and association, and the antithesis of its spirit. But he claims a piece of it.
Because until someone can actually do it better than us, why not do it with them? So all these great new bands are coming along.
He was about to slam young artists, young enough to be his children, many writing their own music and remodelling the landscape, but remembers what Bill said, tries to say something nice.
They really are good. I mean, I like a lot of the bands that come out. There's a lot of really good stuff there. But I can do it too.
With his close circle of acquisitions, an army of establishment bootlickers, he can do whatever he wants. But piggybacking trends and fashions, insisting that the kids will have to share the swings and slide with him, only highlights his lack of dignity and gratitude.
And whereas I'm free enough in my mind to listen to all the youngsters coming along, I often think that the younger folk ought to give us a chance, because I don't want to be in a box, and my fans know what I can do, fortunately.
Like a middle-aged divorcee, out on the pull with his teenage kids, busting out rusty shapes with unhinged desperation, showing them how it's done.
You say you thumb your nose at people almost like
Not
I
the
don't
public.
care. No,
But my
critics.
public are way ahead of all the musical press, for instance.
The presenter questions his condescending tone towards people, but he insists it's not towards the public. Not his public anyway. His public know exactly what he's capable of.
They heard me singing in falsetto 8-10 years ago. But when I did it on Nearly Famous, everyone went, "Oh look, he's singing in falsetto."
The bottled up inner frustration is tangible. Maybe he had an argument with Bill, a sleepless night or two. Maybe the press are leaning on him behind the scenes. Or are they just the only institution that he's unable to infiltrate?
I remember reading in quite a good, and not just a trashy thing either, it was, I think, some supplement to one of the major papers, and it said, "His nose is like a cherry on an iced bun." Well, I mean, I can't help the way I look.
He lulls the interviewer into a false sense of security with a petty quip, but he's being serious and doesn't like being laughed at.
And I thought it was an unfair thing and hurtful thing to say.
He finishes 83 with the aptly titled Please Don't Fall in Love, number 7. Because in 84, Sue announces her feelings to the press, saying, "I love him, he's great, and I'm sure we love each other." But in reality, once they'd been photographed together hundreds of times last year, he stopped calling as much. She swallowed the old no sex before marriage chestnut, but still confused by the regular boys-only holidays and extended radio silences, so opening her heart via the press. But he keeps his head down and releases Baby, You're Dynamite, 27, 2 to the Power of Love, with a young and almost unknown Janet Jackson, hoping that a hit might bring him closer to Michael. 83. Shooting from the Heart, 51. It's a bad year for singles. And Big Billy G's back on the scene to pimp out his boy, and he wants to clean up his act, so he finishes off 84 by making his next sacrifice. Back in the day, after humping Jet's wife, he asked his then drummer Tony Meehan to jump on the phone and dispose of her, whilst he broke it off with his girlfriend that he'd just cheated on by letter, even spelling her name wrong. Sue's been a trusty gaydar scrambler and tennis coach, even offering him her heart, but even now, at 44, he's still unable to find his knackers and once again gets a close friend to make her disappear. He reconnects with his old friend James. Uncle Jim uses his connection to Cliff as a bargaining chip with the vulnerable, claiming they'd spend time with him just to hear the stories of their friendship. He's about to become an unofficial advisor to the royal family, and in a few years, knighted by Pope John Paul II, so right up Cliff Street. Regardless of the rumours, he's one of the show's most regular guests, and together they're dream makers. Only in the 80s could a 10-year-old write to Savile to ask if Cliff fancied playing hide-and-seek behind her mum's back, swinging his dick with a chauffeur and gold roller as he curb crawls the council estate.
Hi, are you Gillian? You're the one that wrote to Uncle Jim, is it?
Yeah.
Great. Now listen, what have you done with your mum?
She's in town shopping.
How long is she going to be away? She won't come back and catch us now. Okay, I'll just hide the car. Ron, you can hide this thing, can you? Thanks.
A touch of glitter in his new threads. He hasn't seen much of Gaz since the early 70s, but they'll be catching up very soon at Rod Stewart's birthday party at Stringfellows, as well as Freddie's rooftop mashup, with naked staff and midgets dishing out refreshments. Shh. In 85, he releases Heart User, a song released only a few months earlier by Iron Maiden's original vocalist Paul Di'Anno, but it peaks at 46. After 27 years of pushing his throat, problems cause him to cancel several shows for the first time in his career. In the summer, he turns down Live Aid to honour his gospel tour, aware that he's been having too much fun in the Devil's Playground and knowing that he won't be able to do it next year, because it's announced that throughout 86, he'll be the lead in a futuristic theatre spectacle, a stage musical, written and directed by 60s legend Dave Clark of the Dave Clark 5. A full jump into theatre world, 8 shows a week for a full year, and his single for the soundtrack is released in anticipation. She's So Beautiful with Stevie Wonder, 17, followed by It's in Every One of Us, 45. In 1986, he re-records Living Doll with comedy act The Young Ones for the first Comic Relief. He's uncomfortable working with them, but soon chills when it goes to number 1. London's West End, Theatreland. They market it as a high-tech rock spectacular, a multimedia experience, including lasers and giant video screens. 2,000 people a night want a piece of the pie, but there's a problem.
The choice of the defendant is the prerogative of Melchizedek, the Time Lord.
I don't think I can cope with this.
And what is your function?
We make music.
The most technologically advanced stage musical in history is let down by Stiff Cliff and Dave's dogshit script. All the gear, no idea. Dave's intimate friend Freddie even turns up and throws cornetos into the audience to add some spice. But despite its lack of substance, it successfully runs for 2 years. John Travolta even comes to see it, with a view to replacing Cliff, but doesn't fancy it. So David Cassidy takes it. The final single from Time is Born to Rock and Roll, 78, followed by another stage number from Phantom of the Opera, All I Ask of You, featuring Sarah Brightman, 3, and Slow Rivers with Elton, 44. Now free from the gold-plated panto, he returns to his early 80s producer, songwriter, and godsend, Alan Tarney, for assistance back into the pop world. Alan writes the songs, records all the instruments and programming, vocal coaches Cliff, and produces the album, releasing My Pretty One, 6, Some People, 3, and Remember Me, 35. The anniversaries never end, and he reaches his 30th in the biz. Two Hearts only reaches 34, but his Christmas song in the winter of 88 is a smash hit. Mistletoe and Wine, number 1.
Cliff's last Christmas number 1 was I Love You 28 years ago.
Radio 1, the UK Top 40.
Little Bruno Brooks, otherwise known as Trevor, giving us all the hits, although allegedly saving a few for Anthea Turner for when he gets home. She's already got her black eye on his colleague, Peter Powell.
And it's Cliff Richard still there at the top of the pile.
Britain's #1.
He's back on top with a Christian banger, sleigh bells, church chimes and kids, including a young Mylene Class.
The latest charts released by Gallup tonight show Cliff Richard still well ahead on the #1 spot.
Look at that system, state of the art. A couple of taps on that keyboard could change everything. But as Cliff's most credible decade comes to a close, a few old faces are pulled into the picture.
You are talking about the best artist we've got in this country, and I've always said so.
The OG, Jet Harris, the James Dean of British rock and roll, rocking the horseshoe like a champ, chomping on the bit for his next super king. He gives his old mucker some shine before the black dog returns.
But not so good for me.
He had a bad car crash in '63, falling further into his demons. Failed comebacks and detoxes, finally going bankrupt this year, but on the road to recovery, playing again, even recording some old Shadows tunes. But deep down, just wants to be close to Cliff and the guys again.
There's no hard feelings.
Not at all.
Peace and love.